also after that on Facebook and YouTube. Gosh, with indiGO. You joined me this morning. Sir? Well, you were telling me a little bit about this concert last night. What was this about?
Last night was the last concert of the summer concert series in Washburn. It was set up at the show.
Oh, okay.
And second time I'm home band. And they do like all these rock, some Elvis, and some of that stuff that we do.
Yeah.
All us dinosaurs just enjoy that kind of stuff. But it was such a turnout. They set up a dance floor with turnout was like 50 people, right? And people dancing. And this is the senior concert. It's put on by the ADRC here in Washington County. Okay, and they started this during COVID because all the senior centers were closed. And they were getting constant calls. Hey, open it up. I'm tired of being in and isolation, driving everybody nuts. And this idea came up to bring people together with music. And it was so successful that they just continued doing it. So another year gone by, and everybody's moved. And what happened last night is we got caught up in this.
Yeah.
And it was one of those like where you immediately felt, like when you grab your shirt, it kind of has that suction because you're that flat, almost like you feel like right. And instead of anybody getting upset, yeah. And then people went back out dancing and just had a great time. They had a tent to cover up. This is bring the Glenview senior home in that area, brings some of us older people. They get protected by the tent. I wasn't protected, and myself and the ADS members and the other people that were around out in the rain, but it was okay. I protected my stuff. I got that doing it.
You got hydrated, right?
Hydrated. I really, and it was so much fun. It's always fun to be there, and it's a great group of people to be with. And talk to a lot of students out there about different aspects of healthcare and aging in place.
Yeah.
So we do have, I just wanted to make a couple announcements. I've got a lot of stuff coming up in September. Okay. And this is the day before the next time we meet. So September 13th, this is back in Washburn County again. We will be at the grand opening of the Wellness Center, which replaced the Senior Center. And they didn't have enough room at the Senior Center in Spooner. And when the ADRC moved into the new location in Shell Lake, it left that building vacant. And they lobbied the county and the state and got grants and brought that up to be our new wellness center. And I will be one of the presenters at that. It's going to be September 13th. And the poster that I had for it got wet yesterday in the rain, so I don't have it in front of me, but I got the date. And I will be one of the presenters. I'll be talking about assistive technology devices, things that assist people to live in their home and survive whatever disabilities they have as easily as possible. And you were one of the people that used one of our devices or a couple of our devices, and sometimes they're temporary and sometimes they're permanent. Mm-hmm. But I will be covering things such as the adaptive phones, things that like a signaling system that lets you know that the phone is ringing, and maybe a caption phone. I think I'll bring out the bath lift chair and different devices that people would commonly need as we age and lose some of our strength and abilities to maneuver in our own home. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. And then on the 19th, I'll be here at LCO, and they're having a health conference. And I believe that one's going to be at the Casino Convention Center. I don't have the details on some of these yet because I just know I'm invited, and I'm just going to have a table out there, and
Sure.
then we will be discussing the services that indiGO provides. So anybody that stops by the table has any questions, I'll bring some assistive technology devices out there as well. So we will have that one coming up on the 19th. The 20th, the day after, I'll be at St. Croix. They're having a health fair.
Okay.
So that'll be in Hurdle. And same thing, I'll have a table out there and
Mhm.
bring out some devices and describe our services. And then on the 22nd, we're doing something really cool here in Sawyer County. The conference that you attended last year.
Yeah.
We're gonna make that one a little bit different. One of the things that we found is that the attendance isn't quite there. You need to get out to more people. So we're going to try something new here in Sawyer County. We're going to be broadcasting the conference to a couple of satellite locations. One will be here at LCO,
Okay.
and then I will be at the Waldo Center out in Witter with Jillian Stone. She's with TMG. She's a home care professional, and we will be co-hosting the event and doing questions and answers during the speakers or following the speakers. And there will be some food and goodies and things out there, just like they had at
Yeah.
the last one was at Flat Creek
Yeah.
Eatery.
Yep.
But we want to get out to the people because sometimes the places in the farther reaches of the county, it's not always that easy to get to Hayward.
Yeah.
And if this goes well, this is a first time ever to broadcast. If this goes well, it may become the way that things are done in the future. We may have a giant conference broadcast to the whole Northland all at the same time. And then we could get to the senior centers and those remote places in
Sure.
all the counties out here and make it available to people that generally don't have that ability to get long distances.
Yep.
If you live in some place in the county it could be an hour drive or more, and I think it provides a lot of opportunity for people to get out and take part in this and learn from it as well.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things that I met somebody that was an advocate for the elderly yesterday and described some of the services that we have, and she was just amazed that these things are out there. And sometimes it's like, wow, so there's a device to put my socks on because I can't bend. And if I use this thing that costs maybe $7, $8, $10, I could get my socks on without asking for help.
Yeah.
And that's part of that independence. You want to hold on to that independence as long as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Well, speaking of independence, we've been outside a lot because it's been dry and it's been nice, but it's been too dry. In fact, northern counties here, up in Douglas and Bayfield, they actually had a federal disaster area determination for their counties because of the drought conditions. And so, not only for our vegetation, but we as humans have drought issues, and dehydration has been a big issue with having seniors, especially who don't get out. They don't, well, shouldn't have to get out, but they just don't drink a lot of water on their own. And I know it's been something for me. I get so busy sometimes, and I'm going and I'm going and I'm going. And by the end of the day, I start to feel lightheaded. And there were a couple of times at some other jobs I had where I was starting to pass out. And
Wow.
all of a sudden, I realized, oh, when was the last time I had even just a drink of water? Nothing of pop, no coffee, no everything else that we think has water in it may not be hydrating as just plain old water. Plus the electrolytes that you're missing in those nutrients and stuff. So I know you've been suggesting some products that might help us do better with getting water inside of our bodies. What are those? Some of those things?
Well, one of the things I wanted to kind of give some of the symptoms. I got these from
Okay.
the Cleveland Clinic: headaches, delirium, and confusion. So, does that sound like dementia, Alzheimer's,
Yeah.
delirium, confusion? So, somebody could be afraid that they're experiencing something like dementia or Alzheimer's, and all it is water that they need.
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote this little article on prevention, and I added this in. So dizziness, just like you said, weakness, lightheadedness. So I don't have that strength, and sometimes you don't make that connection to water.
Yeah.
It's a lot more important than people think, and it's not just when it's hot out. It's every day.
Yep.
It's all the time. Dry mouth, of course, and a dry cough. Heart rates, high heart rates, but low blood pressure. Low blood pressure causes that weakness and possible falls.
Yeah.
And
The lightheadedness.
a fall could lead to broken bones. It could be permanent damage, loss of appetite, but craving sugar, flushed red skin, swollen feet. One thing I've experienced some of that with family members that had issues with swelling in their feet, and I did some research and found that your legs and your feet are the reservoir that your body uses when you're dehydrated. So they're swelling to hold on to the water because you're not taking any in. It just seems so counterintuitive, because you're dehydrated and your body says, well, I'm going to put this down in this reservoir here because I need this to survive.
Right.
And sometimes, and it was things that I dealt with, like I said, some family members that had some swelling that turned into sores and things like that. And when you do the research, you find out that, well, I expect you to start drinking X amount of water a day. And then that swelling goes down, but it just seems like, well, my feet are swollen. I need something to get rid of that water. So you maybe take a water pill, and then you get really, really dehydrated. Then that feeling like you just want to sit in that chair and you don't want to get up, you have no energy to do anything. And that's part of what you could experience just from not drinking water.
Yeah.
And there's other symptoms here I want to go through. Muscle cramps from not having enough water,
right. Yeah.
Heat intolerance or the chills, constipation, dark colored pee, urine, and it says your pee should be pale or clear color. So if it's really dark, that's an indicator that you should be drinking more water.
Sure.
And at the end, I didn't give the exact, but the more serious effects can land you in the hospital or even result in death.
Yeah.
So at the end of the article, I just use that old phrase, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So it's a pretty easy one.
Yeah.
And you mentioned sodas and that. So if you're drinking soda or coffee, it acts as a diuretic, which actually removes more from your body than you're taking in as liquid.
Yeah.
Because it makes you go. So if you're going, you're not retaining the water that you need to keep in your body.
Yeah. No, that was something that I always, as I was younger, justified coffee. I thought, well, I'm getting, coffee is just water with the coffee bean in it. And it was, but I never talked about, or learned about the what you call it? Dielectric? Diuretic. Sorry. And that element to it. And then I also knew that was with pop as well. And I was, drinking Mountain Dews because it had caffeine in it. And I also justified Mountain Dew because it has orange juice in it. And I thought, oh, that's healthy, isn't it? Mountain Dew with orange juice. And didn't realize that the sugar and the other things about it were really creating more dehydration and not really hydrating me. Um, sorry, excuse me. The So we go back to, what are we supposed to have? What's our general water intake on a normal everyday? How much water should we be taking in?
The way that it sounds, and I used to hear
8. Yep.
8 cups of water a day.
Yeah.
And I think that you can use that other indicator where they say if your urine is light colored, you're doing okay.
Yeah.
So once it starts darkening, you probably know. But 8
Yeah.
is a pretty good. So you're looking at 64 ounces. So that's a half
Right.
gallon.
And the problem is now we're in drought situations outside. It's dry inside. The humidity and dew points are low, which really doesn't have an effect on our hydration inside of our body. But being outside in this great sunshine and in that drier air, that absorbs moisture out of your skin faster, and your body, it has to replenish that moisture. So it's going to pull it from somewhere. And then if we're working, we water flowers every day. I watch my father-in-law go out and he's dumping water all over the flowers and our lawns and the trees, but are we really doing the same for us, ourselves? Do we care for ourselves that way?
I'm noticing more. That's the one thing, is that the information's getting out there. People drink a lot more water. When I go to meetings, everybody, I have my water in front of me right
Yep,
here.
yep.
I don't, it feels like I'm missing something if I leave the house without it. And people are drinking water way more. All these meetings used to be people with sodas and coffees.
Yeah,
And
and now everybody
like,
has a bottle of water or carafes of water are sitting at the conference tables and stuff. And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, and you'd even notice it at, if you watch public hearings and
I got my plastic bottle.
yeah, you do. I get I have a well, so I trust my water. I got filters.
Yeah.
I don't like paying for water.
Yes.
When I grew up, there used to be bubblers out in the park in Chicago. There was always water flowing. Now
Sure.
they found a way to sell it to you.
Yeah.
The first time I saw a Perrier, I couldn't believe it because I was in a bar and somebody was paying more for water than I was paying for my beer. I just couldn't. It mathematically didn't make
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the sodas, and I gotta say I'm guilty there too. I could go through like a 6-pack of Coke or Pepsi or Mountain Dew every day
Yeah.
and not think anything of it. Think I'm doing the right thing, and I don't even miss it. It's
Yeah.
weird because it seems too sweet now. I don't
Mhm.
enjoy the taste of it, and rarely have a soda. Once in a week, maybe once every couple of weeks, and that's about
Right.
it. And what I drink is usually not caffeinated. I like ginger ale because it's got a little bit of a sting to it. It's not
Yeah.
sweet, bad, or
I'm a root beer person, so that has no caffeine, and like you said, twice a month. If I go to Culver's, I like the Culver's root beer, and I might have 2 glasses and treat myself to 2 glasses of Culver's root beer or other brands. But otherwise, it's never that. And of course, I feel guilty going through water bottles because of now we're taking plastic, and how does that affect the environment? And I should, maybe buy, instead of buying individual water bottles, buy the gallon water jug and fill my water up. But like you said, if your well is good, if you have good city municipal water, depending on the taste, some people have a little sulfur taste to it, some have a little bit of iron, but there's filters for that.
they do have those pitchers that you could fill up and just put in your fridge.
Sure.
At where I work, when I go to the
carbon
office,
filters.
there's one right in the fridge with a spigot, and you just
Oh.
you put and everybody uses that
that.
thing. We're
Yeah.
constantly filling it, but it's filtering out because it's city water from Superior, and it has that chlorine taste.
Oh, yeah.
But this takes it out and makes it much more palatable.
Yeah. Yep. There's ways to do it. And there's even some products that you can add to water to make it taste a little better. I buy these little tubes of electrolytes. I forget the name brands like Propel and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And I'll put that in my single serve plastic bottle because they're measured for that. And so now I'm getting the other nutrients that I need in addition to the water hydration. And those, those are handy.
Yeah, there are those kind. There's one that, and I'm not promoting any product. I looked up a couple before we did this, and I
Yeah.
just kind of want to. So there's one called Drip Drop, and it's added to water, and this is something that the U.S. military, firefighters, medical professionals, and elite athletes
Oh,
use.
okay.
So you're out and you don't have time to drink that 64 ounces of water because you're in a fire,
Right.
and you need something to keep yourself hydrated while you're working, and maybe like out in a forest fire or something like that, or in the military where you're not where water is,
Yeah.
and you only have a certain amount, and you add this to the water and it just compounds the amount of hydration that you're generally getting. And there was another one, Liquid IV. So they're kind of comparing it to getting an IV drip
Sure.
to restore the water back into your body. And on the other end, now one of the things that we find with a lot of seniors is that there's a reluctance to drink anything because there's an incontinence problem, or that somebody can't make it to the bathroom in time once they get the urge. And
Yeah.
it's an embarrassing thing. It's not, and you understand it because it's part of your pride. It's part of your self-esteem.
Right.
It's like, so I understand that, but there are some products that we could look at that maybe would be helpful for you. There's one that came out, jelly drops, and these are candies, and there's another one called hydro gummies. So they're kind of like a chewable candy
Huh.
that hydrates you, and they're tasty. I haven't had any yet, but for our conferences, sometimes they do some giveaways,
Yeah.
and we're looking at that in Washburn County. And I talked to the dementia specialist out there yesterday. I said, well, can we possibly see if we could get a donation, and then when we have the seniors there, they could try it.
Right. Yeah.
And that's kind of the route we're going to go there. And maybe I could see if we could do something like that for the LCO
Yeah.
conference coming up. And I think that way people would find out that, hey, is this worth it? Does this solve my problem? Do I feel better when I'm
Right.
hydrated? Do I got just a little bit more energy?
Yeah.
Do I, that lethargic feeling is something that you're trying to understand, and it could just be something as simple as water.
Yep. I looked at the Jelly Drops website and I just thought, how does that little, I don't know how big it is, but by the pictures and the size of a hand and holding it, how does that's not going to replace my 8 ounces of water 8 times a day. But if you're nibbling on these throughout the day, that helps give you that maybe that 1 or 2 glasses of water. I don't know the science behind these jelly drops and these other things, but it's interesting how they can help keep a person hydrated, either because they're not drinking enough out of their glasses or their bottles, but throughout the day, I don't know how you can concentrate water.
Yeah,
Type of thing. It's
kind of
like
blew
it's
me
almost
away
like a
when I
water
first heard
concentrate.
about
Yeah.
it, you know.
Plus, there's electrolytes and other additives that will help the body retain that moisture and hydration, I think, and stuff like that. So that's pretty interesting.
And they were developed for, I think the jelly drops came from England, and it was a gentleman whose I think it was his grandma that had dementia, and keeping hydrated is really, really important if you have dementia.
Yeah.
And it seemed to work for that. He developed these things so that she could get that hydration, and
Yeah.
apparently saw some improvement. And once they worked, he put them on the market.
Yeah. Wow.
Necessity, the
interesting.
mother of invention.
Yeah.
It's like, well, how do I help my own family member?
Yeah.
And that's we're always solving problems, looking for ways to make life better for somebody who has some difficulty. How do we fix this? How do we
Yeah.
solve it? And
Right.
the products do exist, and those ones that you add to water, well, maybe you don't have to drink 8 a day, but you'll get what you need. A lot of people do still drink like Gatorade and some of
Mm-hmm.
those as well.
Yeah.
That's why athletes use it. They're sweating. They're going through
Yeah.
tons of water. When if you watch if you watch any sports, you could imagine how much they're sweating and
Oh
how
yeah.
much they're going through in
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah, I keep Gatorade here at the office as well, just because I know when I'm out doing production work or I'm hauling a lot of equipment. Boy, when I was at the LCO powwow, that just being outside in the warmer air and you're naturally perspiring, you're losing water, and you got to replace that somehow. So, like you said, these Gatorade products or other products are just for that purpose, to help get you hydrated quickly, replace the electrolytes that you need as well, and but otherwise, like you said, every day we should be drinking, 4 or 5. And I remember the rule: if your pee is clear, you're pretty good,
Yeah, yeah.
but
One
you're
other
peeing.
reason.
That's the other problem, though. You're peeing often, and it's like, oh my goodness, I'm going to go to the bathroom again and again and again. But
It's good for your kidneys, and it
yeah,
takes some of the toxins out of your body.
yeah,
The things that are bad for you, that's where they come out. So it's really good for you to do that. It's
yeah,
better for you to have to go more often, actually.
yeah,
And another reason to have some of these around is we like to keep at least something with electrolytes on hand,
yes,
because if somebody gets a stomach issue where there's vomiting or diarrhea, that is the best thing to have,
oh
because
sure,
you're getting rid of all that water,
yeah,
and then the dehydration feeling when you're like that, it makes you feel even worse. So it kind of keeps your head a little bit better off, because you do have that hydration,
yeah,
and you're replacing it as you're losing it.
right, yeah. That's very good. Good reminders. These are the basic things in life that we forget about, and even those, like you said, with dementia, they're forgetting about these things anyways. And so, for their caregivers to be aware of the signs of dehydration in the people that they're caring for, whether it's professional caregivers, need to look for those signs, and or home family members who are giving care to their elderly family members. It's just good stuff to remember and to keep on the top of mind. Is my family member getting enough water and hydration into their system?
Always,
Yeah,
always. And with just remember that dehydration can present as dementia.
yeah, yeah. That's interesting. Well, Don, thank you for stopping by and helping us with this. If you have any questions for Don, you can give him a call at 715-919-4932. That's 715-919-4932. Or you can email him at don at indigo.org. And indigo is spelled INDIGO. Indigo. Thank you, Don, for your time today.
And
Appreciate
thank
it.
you, Mark.
Look forward to next month. What are we going to talk